Okay, so a friend of mine in the real world, not from my social media, asked me a question, and her friend is looking to write a book but doesn't know how to start the process or what it entails. So I'm going to answer my friend's question in the beginning of this video, but by the end I'll expand more to those thinking of starting a career in a business out of their writing. Okay, so when it comes to actually writing the book, there are a bunch of different softwares that you can use. You can either use Microsoft Office, you can use a free version of Microsoft Office online, or what I personally have grown to use, which is Google Docs. That is better because it saves your progress as you go, and you don't run the risk, as I have done, accidentally deleting your copy of your book. But if you're someone that's just looking to write one book and be done, then I suggest Kindle Create, which is Amazon, or rather Kindle Direct Publishing, but we'll get to that in a minute. So it's a desktop application that looks like this. You just go into your browser and look for Kindle Create. And my suggestion is just use the template of Pride and Prejudice that comes with it and erase it all as you go. That way you don't have to worry about formatting, making new chapters, etc. Anywho, that will bring you to a document like this, where you have your title page, your table of contents, your disclaimer, your copyright, then you get into the chapters. And you can choose to do, whatever, the epilogue, special thanks, and about the author. Once you're ready to publish a book, you go up into the top right-hand corner and you hit that generate button. It'll transfer it into a KPF file for you. Then you just go to kdp.amazon.com, create an account, and then hit the create button. Then you go in and you fill in all the details about your paperback or ebook, your book title, all that stuff. Then you go into paperback content or ebook content. Fill in the content, such as your manuscript, the print options, such as black and white paper or standard color interior, black and white interior with cream paper, etc. The trim size, which is how big the book is, and the cover finish that you want, whether matte or gloss. Then you go into your paperback rights and pricing. Then you obviously set up your rights and pricing. Then you just click publish. It's really that easy, so it's not that huge of a barrier to entry. Now, I do suggest you go with the Amazon provided free ISBN, because ISBNs are super pricey. Okay, so now we get to the fun bit, because there's quite a lot that goes into writing, and whether you want to do traditional publishing or indie publishing. Personally, I prefer indie publishing because you have a higher income cap and you get more creative flexibility. That is not to knock on those that choose to traditionally publish. But it is difficult, especially to market when you're traditionally published, because if you get an advanced fee on your book, you are going to have to make that back or you're not going to get picked up again. And if the onus of marketing is going to fall on you either way, you may as well build your social media and everything else first. You should also stay very clear from what's called vanity publishers, and those are basically just smaller publishing companies that are basically looking to scam you and take a majority of your royalties by doing things that are very easily doable as an indie author yourself. If you go, especially with one of the big 5 publishing companies, editing, book cover, and all other expenses will be absorbed by them. You should never pay to publish your book. Now, when you do go as an indie author and you're self-publishing, yeah, you're responsible for that. Now we're going to get more into the productivity as a writer, how to actually write and keep the motivation to write. So firstly, forget what the industry says. Don't try and write what's trending, because by the time you're done writing the book, it'll no longer be a trend. If Tetris taught us one thing, it's that trying to fit in will make you disappear. Don't write the trend, be the trend. Second, market your book well before its release date if you're looking to make an income and all that off of it. Generate excitement about your book and build a fan base and collect emails. Third, you might not like it, but you are probably going to have to get on camera. You might not. There are ways to do it without, but it's exceptionally more difficult. Number 4, set up realistic and obtainable goals. So rather than, your typical book being 60,000 words in length, break that down. And I'm going to write 1,000 words per day, per week, whatever it is that you can feasibly manage and actually get done. Because the more realistic you set your goals, not only will the better you feel when you achieve them, but you're more likely to shoot higher and blow past it. And lastly, number 5, don't worry about tropes that are overdone or any other stuff, any of the writing rules. There are no rules except for grammar and punctuation. Write the book that you want. Because I promise, you're going to have to read it 100 times. And if you like it, other people will too. Okay, so we've covered how to actually write your book and release it. Warnings about the industry and whether you should go traditionally or self-published. Now let's talk about the plotting or pantsing of your book. So within the writing community, there's this thing that gets asked all the time and talked about is whether or not you should plot your books ahead of time with detailed notes or just pants it, which means fly by the seat of your pants and just write it as you go. Personally, I started off as a pantser, and I'm a bit of a mixture of both, but I've gotten more and more into plotting, especially as you write a sequel. It keeps the story straight and going the way it should be going. That being said, I do know some people that can find plotting to be too restrictive to the creative process. And one of the pitfalls that I notice particularly affects plotters is that's why a lot of writers don't publish, is because they overanalyze and create these huge, massive worlds. When you're writing a book, I don't need to know about the governmental systems and how taxes work. But that is a problem with fantasy authors especially. Now, if you're looking for something to help you with your plotting of your book, then you'll want to pick up this book, Save the Cat. It's a wonderful book, and I find it very valuable, but I tend to write in just one singular to 2 POVs, point of views. That book isn't as helpful for people that do high fantasy and stuff like that, but it's a good starting point. But the last sort of suggestions I would have on writing a book are to just basically copy the greats. Find another author who you like what they're doing and emulate what they do. Study their books and adapt their techniques in your own style. Other than that, it's largely just trial and error, and you learn as you grow, and each book is better than the last. I will say one thing though, perfectionism is the enemy of progress. Now, with all that said and done, writing itself isn't necessarily as hard as people think, or at least to just get published. But to release a quality product and then market it and sell it to make a living is very, very hard. It's a very competitive market, but there is enough of the pie for everybody. More and more books are sold every year. But the vast majority of books that are published only sell about 300 books in their lifetime. So, don't expect to make a living off just one book. You need a back catalog, and you need to just keep going. Now, if you're just looking to write one book, that's one thing. But if it's something that you truly want to do, you're going to have to show up every day and put the work in. Above all, and most importantly, you're going to have to love what you do.